ended up rescheduling for March 2021. But we're still going to be able to talk to her about the upcoming show and maybe even brainstorm a little bit about what it's going to look like in the gallery. While I'm waiting for her to join the Instagram live call, I just also wanted to announce, in case you haven't seen it already, that Blue Sky will be opening to the public on August 15th, Saturday, and we'll be open from 12 to 5 that day, and then we'll be open from then on Wednesday through Saturday, 12 to 5. We really encourage you to make an appointment on our website, blueskygallery.org. We will allow walk-ins if space allows, but we're really trying to make sure that everyone stays safe. Please also wear a mask. That will be required. All right, it looks like Jana's here, so I'm going to bring her on. During this conversation, also, if you have any questions, there's a little question box at the bottom. Please be sure to ask questions. Hi, Jana. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. It's really good to see you.
Set up my... Okay, I think it works.
I know. I've spent a little while setting up my area and finding the right light. It's always, sometimes a bit of a struggle.
Yeah, finding the best spot where to do it in the apartment.
Yeah, and it's nighttime there. It's 9 p.m., right?
Right, yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us this late in the evening for you.
Yes, thank you so much for inviting me. That's great. I wish we could have had the show right now at the opening tonight, but that's the situation.
I know, me too. Yeah, it's too bad, and I know, especially because you're in Berlin, I don't think you're able to travel here and vice versa, so I'm glad we were able to postpone in March so that hopefully we can meet again in person.
Yeah, I hope by next year, March, the situation will be different and people can travel and the show can happen, and
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Well, how has it been in Berlin? How has your life been since the pandemic hit, and how is it now?
Pandemic. Well, I think when the situation, it was beginning of March 13th or something. I had an exhibition in Portugal, in Santa Teresa, and in Paris. So I was traveling while the whole world changed and they announced lockdown. So I had to stop my plans being in Paris and took the last train back to Germany. And I feel this was March 13th or 15th, something around that. And from this time onwards, I haven't left really. I was only in Berlin and visiting my parents' place, but otherwise I stayed here. I definitely feel it has affected me in many different ways. Jobs got cancelled. I think just like for many other artists especially, it was a very difficult and challenging time. On the other hand, I'm lucky because Germany had a good support system, and artists got like this kind of solidarity support for the first months. Also, my projects had been influenced a lot. I was so for the audience, I will exhibit Living Room at Blue Sky Gallery next year, and I did this work. I realized this project in San Francisco, and since March, basically, or beginning of this year, I'm working on a similar concept in Berlin. I'm focusing on the situation of the unhoused population in the city, and when Corona changed everyday's life, I couldn't continue working on the project, so it did affect me, on my working level, on my personal level. And also right now I feel it's still things seem to be back to normal, but I think right now we are kind of in the beginning, I think, of a second wave. This is what people say, and I feel it's difficult to plan. Also, it seems you can travel in Europe, but I don't know whether shows or book fairs or different kind of events that I had planned for the fall will actually happen. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, on our end, we kind of kept inching our exhibition schedule as time progressed since March, and luckily we're able to put exhibitions into 2021. So, yeah, so we will be opening shows in September, but yeah, we're playing everything by ear, and that's really tough when a lot of your work is so not only just exhibiting in public space, but also working with people like more socially. That makes it difficult to continue a project.
Right. Well, I'm at the moment, I'm spending a lot of time on the streets, talking to people who are unhoused, and at the same time I'm trying to get access to people who are housed, who have living rooms, who are privileged, who are more belonging to the wealthier population of Berlin, and it is not easy. I feel there's a lot of fear on both ends. I felt, I think it was like in May or something, I felt I tried to do the best to protect myself, but I still want to see to what extent it is possible to to be out on the street and observe the situation, but of course take all the measures that are necessary. But yeah, I think it's kind of playing it by ear, I guess.
Yeah, well, maybe many people already know how your project evolved, but would you mind talking a little bit about what inspired you to make Living Room in San Francisco and the process you went through?
Yeah. So I was living in San Francisco. I was there in a relationship for several years, and I remember when I arrived there the first time, I was struck by the extreme contrast between rich and poor on display on the streets. It's so much wealth against a backdrop of very visible poverty, and I think on the one hand, San Francisco is very beautiful and it has Victorian mansions, and it's almost like a film setup in a way. Some areas I feel, and on the other hand, I spend a lot of time in developing countries because I also work sometimes as an election observer, and I've spent a lot of time in Africa and different countries in Asia. And there I've seen a lot of poverty and contrasts, but somehow before visiting San Francisco, or when I came to San Francisco the first time, I kind of was shocked that there are so many people who are forced to live out on the street in a country as rich as America. And it is, I think, I was already interested in this topic on the growing gap between rich and poor and the issue of inequality before I came to San Francisco. This was also part of my previous studies, and I noticed that it is a topic where the gap between rich and poor is growing in all big capitals around the world. But I think it is very visible in San Francisco. So I was interested to find a visual approach where I can make it visible in one image, the contrast between rich and poor. And at the beginning, I spent a lot of time just on the streets talking to unhoused people, trying to understand what it is like to live out on the street. And I got very interested in the different homes that people temporarily create out of necessity to create some sort of shelter or privacy or something that keeps them safe, or maybe just for a short moment. But I wanted to understand the different ways how people build homes, and maybe also some measures. And I learned also that there are also people who help each other, and it's a very complex situation. Anyway, I came up with this idea to reconstruct people's homes, like temporarily homes that are built up out on the sidewalk or somewhere on the street, and recreate them with similar materials, and then to bring them into privileged, wealthy people's living rooms for a day, and to use their living room as a stage. So I never took people's original homes away. I always tried to copy basically people's homes with similar materials, and to make them look like the original ones. And so the living rooms, they're like a stage. And in this entire process, I spent like 1.5 years working, or almost 2 years working on this project. And so the longest process was actually all this preparation work I did before I actually created the images. So I had to build up a lot of trust and relationships to all participants involved. In total, there were 15 people involved, 15 unhoused people and 15 house people. And I had to get access to both, basically to and this building up relationships, it's about it's creating trust, it's creating friendships, so and maybe it was more difficult to find the people with the homes who were interested to participate than to find unhoused participants. I feel I had an overall more people interested who were unhoused, who were interested in the project than people with homes, because I think there were many people where felt afraid.
Yeah, I think you're breaking up a little bit.
Private home and
see if we can.
I don't know whether.
Sorry, I think you broke up a little bit. Can you hear me right now?
Have some follow-up questions regarding. Can you still
I'm going to see if the feedback stops for a second, and then I can hear you. It's just a little delayed, so let me see.
Zemie?
See if I can get this.
I think the connection is bad.
Yeah.
I think it cut out.
Yeah, let's see if it'll come back in a second.
Did it cut out?
Yes, honey, it cut out.
We might want to start again. I know that's sort of everyone will have to rejoin.
I'm not sure whether it cut out.
Sorry about that. Hopefully we can reestablish a better connection with Jana and then continue the conversation. So thanks for your patience with that. Just wait for a second before she rejoins. Hi everyone, thanks for rejoining. Just wait a moment before Jana comes back. I guess while we're waiting for Jana, I will make another announcement that we are reopening on August 15th, if you didn't hear that already. So please come visit the Baldessari show for the last 2 weeks that it's on view until August 30th will be open Wednesday through Saturday, 12 to 5. Masks are required. All right, just in time for Jana to be back.
Can you hear me?
Hello, sorry about that. I figured maybe we should
Hi,
just
Zemie.
restart.
Hi. I hope the connection works now.
Yeah, but as you were saying, with the project in San Francisco, you were finding that it was a lot easier to find unhoused people to participate, whereas it was a little more difficult to find housed individuals to participate. What did you have people express why they wanted to participate or didn't want to participate? Was there any overarching commonality there?
Yeah, I feel most people who were interested in participating, they were already to somehow engaged in some sort of charity work, or and if they were only engaged in donating money to an organization. So I feel 80% of the participants were interested in the cause, in the topic, the growing inequality in the city, and I mean, homelessness, the whole housing crisis is as everyone knows, it's a very big topic in San Francisco, in the Bay Area, just as in many other places as well. But I feel people were either interested in the topic, or they were also interested in an art project, and they were curious about how does it feel like to, if basically the world from outside comes into their living room. So, but I also figured out in this whole process of the project that it's when people agree to participate, like the more privileged house owners, they have not really a clue what they can expect. So actually, when I came in with the materials that were similar to the original materials, then it kind of like an interesting moment, almost like a performative situation happened where the worlds meet, the outside world with the inside, the private world, sort of to say, meets, and some participants had there were all kinds of reactions basically when I came into people's homes and started to change the living room and make space and try to figure out what is the best setup to build up the home. And I tried, so when I spent time out on the street with the unhoused participants, I tried to understand, we talked a lot about their belongings and the material culture, their things, the most important items they carry with them, they need to survive on the street. So I tried to make sure, include what they were emphasizing that is really important to have included in their home. And on the other hand, I was interviewing the house owners about their living room and about their interiors and their whatever objects and furniture, try to figure out whether there are certain things that are very important for them on whatever level and are also important for them to include in the images. Yes.
I saw a question come through from someone watching. They're wondering what if you had any criteria for, which houses you would select to then recreate in someone else's living room.
So I have to figure out or understand the question. Is the question about whether I was trying to match the living room with the unhoused home, basically, or whether I was looking for specific homes out on the street?
I think, that was whether you were looking for something specific when you were choosing which houses to recreate, but also I think the other question is interesting too.
Yeah, well, I was interested in diversity, and I was interested in how materials are being used. So I tried to not just recreate only cardboard box homes or only many people use tents, of course, because they more or less like easy build up and take down again, and you can close it if the zip still works. So, but I was trying not to just have 15 tents, but to have a kind of like that these reconstructions, how I call them, that they represent maybe a diversity that I've seen and saw that they are interesting. And at the same time, I was looking for different living rooms, some more kind of, I would say, modern, some maybe more like classic interior, and I try to find a way to match to create the images so that the colors and the space and all these aspects work together, because at the end it also has to work as an image visually in terms of colors and composition. So basically,
that makes sense.
I think I could say it was almost like a typology.
I think we're having technical difficulties once again. We'll see if we can resolve this in the next couple minutes.
Oh, Zemie, I'm not on that.
Okay. I think oh wait, are you back, Jana?
Question as well as it comes through. So if you've just joined us and not had to join us for the third time, we're speaking with Jana Sophia Nolle, and she's about to join us again. So hopefully we fixed some connectivity issues.
Not a strong start, lady. Not a strong start.
Hello?
Hi. I tried to do a little bit of troubleshooting here at home to see what might be making our connection slow. So
I also tried to see, but I don't know. It seems I have a connection here, so but, yeah.
Okay, well, we'll hopefully be able to. Third time's the charm. We'll just have 3 videos that people can watch.
Right.
But I think you were talking about how you chose which homes to recreate in living rooms, and a lot of it had to do with variety, or trying to choose many different types of structures, because many you didn't want it to be only tents, because that seems like the most practical, or like the solution that seems to be most widespread.
Right. It was I feel I think these are all the main information. I was looking for in different living rooms, but regarding the living rooms or the homes, the house participants with their mansions or something, I feel I did not really have the chance to be choosy, because I had to take what I got offered, because there weren't that many people who were willing to participate. So this was a bit more difficult.
There was a lot more. There weren't as many people willing to open up their living rooms. Is that what you're saying?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw a question come through in the comments. They were asking what neighborhoods you were working in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm. So I was the unhoused population. I was mainly focusing on Soma, Tenderloin, Mission, these areas, and the areas that are wealthier, with Coal Valley, with Haight-Ashbury, with Presidio, with Laurel Heights, with Twin Peaks. I think these areas.
Yeah, and it seems, I think someone else was also asking what parts of Berlin you have been working on now that you're moving the project, or working on the project there.
Well, it's very different. It's like at the moment I'm still kind of in the process to figure out what are the differences in terms of the unhoused population here and the situation of homelessness in the city, and then also the wealthy, privileged community. I myself live in Neukölln, which is bordering to Kreuzberg, this area, and I'm focused mainly on unhoused communities in Neukölln, in Kreuzberg, in Schöneberg, in Moabit, in Mitte, in Rhein. But also, it's like in San Francisco, people are very visibly out on the street, and there's so many more. And it's not that here, it's like the numbers say that, and also everyone says in Berlin, the numbers of unhoused people is growing, but they're still much more, I think, kind of more, not really invisible, but their homes are more in parks. They're either they do their setups in parks or around the canal or the Spree, the river that goes to the city, or they're kind of more hidden. So I feel I'm working with a different approach here in the city. I work more, some people, like at the moment I'm still establishing relationships and gaining trust to participants. So I'm cycling around and talking to different kind of people. I'm also in touch with social workers and street workers that are like providing support to the unhoused population. And regarding the living rooms, in contrast to San Francisco, we don't have real, like, we have a lot of apartment buildings in Berlin, but not so many homes and villas. The real big mansions, they're kind of more in, more the outskirts areas. And it's very difficult to get access for me. At the moment, that's a big challenge. I feel also the difference is, I think there's a big cultural difference. I think Americans or San Francisco, Californians, I don't know, those who have money, maybe they like to show it also, or they're not that, I don't know, they don't have a feeling of shame or don't feel uncomfortable. But I feel in Germany, people who are wealthy, they are maybe a little bit more fearful and scared to expose themselves and let me, as an artist with an assistant and stuff, come into their homes. So I feel I need a lot of different kind of people who help me to try to find access. So but basically I'm out all around Berlin. I'm not just focusing on one neighborhood.
Well, I think it makes sense that it would be difficult to find people to open up their living rooms. I mean, not only because sometimes people just feel very private about their homes, but there are also those issues of class and wealth and and also like having to maybe.
And then,
what was that?
And then on top of that, we have COVID.
Yeah.
And the pandemic, very difficult because this invisible virus that everyone is for good reason afraid of, it makes it more. And of course, I'm very careful, and I'm trying to take all measures I can, but I'm not sure. Maybe I also have to take a break from the project. It really depends how the situation develops the coming months.
Well, for your show at Blue Sky in March, we kind of talked a little bit through email, but do you want to talk a little bit like what you envision that looking like? Because I think what most people have seen is the prints, but there's other aspects to your project that might be like installation based or showing your communications with the people you worked with.
Yeah, well, I think there are different possibilities to explore. I had some exhibitions the past year where the images were also shown on billboards or out on the city, and I feel this is one ideal way also to show it, because I feel then there's not this problem of like exclusivity, and that if it's outside, everyone can see it, and it's not exclusive in a gallery. But of course, it will be also Blue Sky inside. So I think probably it will be the prints. I think I can imagine. Also including, I collected handwritten statements by the house participants, and different kind of.
I'm just going to see if our videos sync up again for a second before we stop one more time. Hi. Well, I figure we could just try one more time, and then like wherever the conversation ends up leaving off, we'll just call it we did our very best.
Yeah, I agree. That's right.
I guess before any more technical difficulties, is there something you would like to talk about, like something you would like to address about the project, or what you're working on now, or anything I didn't ask you that you'd like to say?
Well, maybe I was, during this project, I was thinking a lot about the role of artists working on or addressing social political issues and the difficulties and challenging that involves. And I think it was sometimes very hard for me to realize that I'm not a social worker and I'm not, art can't solve problems, art can change the situation, so I couldn't help individuals in the situation. And this was very difficult to accept. And then at the same time, I realized, or I was thinking a lot about what is the motivation or what is my main goal with this project. And I think I want to emphasize that my motivation is to, that this project opens up a dialogue and informs people for, I think also to raise awareness, to bring up questions, to make us think, and also many people, and I think this is whether it's in San Francisco or it's in Berlin, I noticed that most people, when I ask them, what do you hope for, or what is one aspect that people can change when they pass by, is that people say they wish they weren't so invisible. And I think that they are treated as humans, and I think that's a big problem that gets often lost, because we get so used to seeing the situation out on the street. And so I hope that this work, I think it is one contribution to raise awareness about issues of homelessness, gentrification, housing crisis. But it can't change the situation, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I think often there is that expectation when artists are creating work about injustice and social issues that, solutions probably do need to be found to address them. But, a lot of times that responsibility is put on the artist when the viewer is looking at the work, rather than, like, oh, what is my responsibility? Which I think art has a really powerful role in shifting how people think about things. It's just another way to plant that idea, that seed.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's, I think also, like, for me, it can be a way to cause discussions, or to maybe also to provoke and to make people stop and think. And I think art can often say what words cannot. So, and also on an emotional level, for me, this project also has a lot to do with space and privacy, and how much space do we really need. And I think space is something that all over the world, it becomes more and more precious, and it becomes more and more expensive. And it says a lot about something about your status or your privilege or who you are in society, how much space you have. So I think that's my motivation. And of course, I also hope that that maybe some people, also those who participated, maybe they are more motivated to donate or to help or to get engaged, and and not just to live in their own bubble, basically. But otherwise, I don't know what else is important. I think, I'm working at the moment on the project in Berlin. It's very different than in San Francisco. Just because it's not that visible, I wouldn't say it is better. I think it's just different. It's culturally different. It's politically different. And I'm still exploring the differences, basically.
do you think you'll include, or will is that too premature? Like, do you think you'll include some prints or anything from Berlin in your March show, or is this March show just going to focus on San Francisco?
I think it will just focus on probably just on San Francisco. I mean, the idea is that the project that I think San Francisco was the project where I worked several years on to finish this work, and I think in Berlin I won't create so many images. It's a bit different. I think I'm at the moment, or I'm planning creating real installations in a show here. So, but I think depending on I would say also the global pandemic and how traveling will be possible over the next year. I had this idea also to do some of the to transfer this concept, to apply it not just to Berlin but maybe also to Paris or to London, but only to basically reconstruct 5 to 7 homes. And then maybe at the end there would be a book or an exhibition that shows reconstruction from different places, which I think is also interesting because I was very interested in questions to what extent does poverty and wealth look different in Europe than in California, for instance, or what are the differences, what are similarities. But we'll see. It's depending on a lot of different aspects.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's a really ambitious project, a really important one too. So I'm glad that you're continuing it beyond San Francisco. That's really great. I guess, let's see, one more question so that we can hopefully stay ahead of the tech glitch. But I was just curious, what got you started making art? Like, when did you decide you wanted to become an artist, or what influenced you, and are there any artists that influenced you along the way?
Well, I grew up with film and photography because my father is a filmmaker. So I was always surrounded by cameras and learned. He was my teacher basically from early onward, how to use a camera, how to take pictures. And I think I was also already in, I don't know, early age on, and then I was in high school in art major. So art was always an important method for myself to express myself, or how I perceive the world around me. But at the same time, I was also very interested in social political issues. So I decided first to study politics and anthropology, and also worked in this field for some years. But while I was working in this field, I was
No, I think we've hit the.
I always had a camera. And I felt at some point I wanted to.
Okay, looks like we've hit the the limitations of the connection again.
Priorities.
So I'm sorry we couldn't hear the last part there.
Art school and studied photography, and then I think think at the moment I'm with this project, especially with living room. I think
Okay.
I'm combining my interests.
Okay.